sorry, was there somebody at the very back who hasn't spoken?
I'm fairly new to all this, and basically what is, going back to the secret government part that you were saying before, and like, what's your opinion of the Bilderberg group, and like, are they a type of secret government, or do you think that's too low, or is that kind of, like you say, like, do they meet to have an influence over?
Well, the Bilderberg group, each meeting every year, they have a meeting every year, and there's normally 140 people there, but it rotates, not always the same 140 people, so there might be a few thousand Bilderbergers in total. Ian Crane answered that question very well. What he said was, that group is there so that those people across world governments know what the agenda is from those who are in the hidden group. So the Bilderberg group isn't a hidden group as such, but it's being passed, that's a mechanism by which they're passing down that information to NATO governments effectively, and in secret, which is appalling that they should have a secret meeting and be discussing things like depopulation, because that's what they talk about at the Bilderberg group, depopulation. How are they going to get rid of the population?
And the second, so basically you were saying before how, like, when like a prime minister becomes in power, or a president, at what stage do you think that like, if they're going through the political process to become a member, like the prime minister or the leader of a government, at what point do you think they're then told of the agenda? Do you think, do they know that from the start, or is it at a point where they're told this is the agenda and you have to abide by it?
I would say different leaders are told different amounts. I think Blair knew a lot. I mean, David Shaler claims he was an MI5 agent well before he became Prime Minister, or well before he became Labour leader. So I think Blair knows all about the terrorist plots being done by MI5, in my opinion. I can just tell by his body language when he's given his reaction, he knows about it. Whereas I think David Cameron, does he know the full? I don't know. Exactly, it's a need to know. It's very carefully done, subtly done. What they, and it's a lot of it's probably through secret societies. Right, is anyone not you, sir? I'll try and ask people who haven't asked a question yet, and then we'll open it out.
Have you looked into hollow Earth theory?
Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah, the idea that the Earth is the crust is a few hundred miles thick, and beneath the crust is it's hollow and occupied by non-human entities. There's a central sun. There's exits at the North and South Pole, and that's where the real Illuminati live. And this is how they get the UFOs, through those exits at the North and South Pole. It's worth looking into if you haven't looked into it.
I'm always open-minded on everything, right? I've not looked into that theory. I don't know of any evidence of that theory. I know that Timothy Good claims that there are 12, 13, 14 bases under the ocean throughout the world that are inhabited by ET. And he's been told that by military.
What gets me is that it goes back into the indigenous populations around the world, into their history. They all talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, what you're coming out with there is David Icke type theory.
He's never mentioned it, actually.
Right.
He might not even know about it.
I mean, it's a whole subject in itself, the reptilian thing. I have been trying to, well, I have contacted David Icke, and hopefully I'm trying to get him on my TV show, because I've got a lot of questions for him. Dave?
Did you see the Look North UFO?
Yes. I saw the alleged.
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting piece of disinformation, wasn't it? Because so there was this UFO go through the bridge, and it was filmed live. And what was the conclusion at the end? The conclusion is, we don't know what it is, and we don't want to know what it is. It's a wonderful piece of BBC disinformation. It's on YouTube. Do a YouTube search on Look North UFO.
It's certainly, it's a strange one. Who's seen it? Who's seen that Look North UFO? It's just the news. It was on breakfast, like morning TV, wasn't it? And the guy's sitting there, and they have a camera on, like near where the new bridge is, and the thing just sort of goes. It's sort of going upwards on a path like that. And you know.
Now, if you can, there's currently a documentary called Ghost Lights. Now, I know anything that starts with ghost is a big turn-off for you, but it's the sort of thing that people are reporting to me all the time. These moving lights, which are going around in forests. I've seen them, I've photographed them. And as I say, you can pick them up on this meter that you're wanting. Yes?
The tri-field meter, yeah.
Yeah. Watch this documentary, Ghost Lights, because people are seeing these things all the time.
I mean, if you just, like, you know what I was talking about, the covert nature of these animal mutilation attacks, those two quotes I read out of those books. I mean, if you consider that, the technology is being applied where they can somehow come and go without being seen. So I'm open-minded, you know?
So I'm basically a ghost hunter, and I have come to the conclusion that 99% of the things that people put down as ghosts are actually in some way either aliens or what David Icke calls reptilians.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned Colin Andrews.
Colin Andrews,
a number of times. I mean, how much faith do you place in him? I've followed some of his career for quite a while. Actually met the guy a number of years ago. Mm-hmm. But the last I heard, well, I'm going back about 10 years ago. Yeah. I was informed that his research into crop circle was being funded by, I think, one of the Rothschilds. Is that correct or not?
Rockefeller
Maybe
Foundation.
Rockefeller,
yeah. That was a while back when he was getting that funding. Mm-hmm. And the Rockefeller Foundation were funding quite a few different areas like that, crop circles. I mean, I've exchanged quite a few emails with him, and he's seen my crop circle film where I name all these MI5, well, one MI5 person who I think is the linchpin of the crop circle. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute that there isn't an unknown phenomenon in the crop. I think there is. But the majority of them are being done by this group. And I exchanged a lot of emails with him, and he's not getting any funding now, I know that. You see, that was controversial because it was almost like he was... In fact, he was the first person to say, he actually said, 80% are man-made. And all of the crop circle world hated him for saying that.
Yeah, but I think that came after he had been getting the funding from the Rockefellers. I remember reading an article by him, about 15 years ago, when he was saying that he had been approached by possibly MI5, MI6 to basically debunk, or to basically debunk all of his fellow researchers, and at the end of it, to claim that the crop circle issue was a hoax in itself. And now it's gone full tilt. You've gone 10, 15 years down the line, and he's more or less done that in a sense. Mm-hmm. Well, I know he's saying that he's arguing that the circular ones aren't man-made, but the majority of the rest of them are. Mm-hmm.
I think in summary, you can't trust anyone really. This is the problem. But on balance, I don't suspect Colin Andrews. I think he's a good guy. Aye. I mean, there are those who I could give the names of who I don't, and Colin Andrews isn't one. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a couple of points that somebody made in the audience. It's relating to the media, or the links between the media and the military, for example. You mentioned about Carol Rosin, and the first it would be the Reds, then it would be.
They actually said asteroid threats, didn't they? Then.
Yeah, that was the one you never mentioned. Yeah, I was at a UFO conference many years ago. It was when Graham Birdsall organised something. I think it was down in London. It was in the 1990s. And he said something quite strange. He said he'd been approached by somebody who'd heard that the US Department of Defense had approached Steven Spielberg and asked him to produce a movie with the name of Deep Impact about a meteor hitting the Earth.
Yeah.
And this was about, I remember hearing this, and this was about 3 years before the movie came out.
Yeah. What year are you talking?
I think the movie came out in the late 90s.
You see, it's quite possible that they were planning that, and then for some reason they thought, no, we'll not get away with that one. Do you know what I mean? But Spielberg certainly has one foot in both camps. He's connected. He wrote a letter to James Fox, who made the film, what's it called? I know what I saw, and the other one Out of the Blue. And he won't allow James Fox to publish that letter because Spielberg is revealing his genuine belief in E.T., but he doesn't want that out of the public yet because he's got it from where he's got it from he's got it from MJ12 or wherever, because Spielberg is a key person in, well, some people call it propaganda, but putting the information out, as you say, the big asteroid film, then it happens, you know.
And he did produce that film.
Yeah.
My second point was about bases on the moon. Somebody brought up a point. I mean, Carl Wolf mentioned about the bases on the moon, and also Donna Hare.
Yeah.
When I was in DC, I was talking to her, and she was saying, like, when she started talking, when other people in Houston knew about our interest in UFOs because of this incident, when she found when there was a photograph she saw of what looked like a flying disc above the Earth on a NASA photograph. She was approached by someone who was in quarantine with the Apollo astronauts,
right.
Who'd said, and the astronauts had told this person who'd come to her that there was a base found on the moon. And I didn't quite understand what she meant by how was this person in quarantine with the astronauts. I thought quarantine, you're talking about from viruses or bacteria. But when I was at Lytham, St. Anne's at the weekend, one of the speakers, I can't remember his name, is a moon researcher.
Right.
And he'd been talking to, I think he was doing some work in there was this big stately home somewhere down south, and he'd been doing some work in the garden, and he got to become friends with the owner of this house. And it turns out that, this bloke was British, and he was a psychiatrist,
right.
And he worked on the Apollo project,
right.
And he was involved in the quarantining of the astronauts, and it wasn't nothing to do with quarantining from viruses or bacteria.
From information.
It was the information, and making sure that the astronauts were okay. And he said that the astronauts had told him that about the base on the moon.
I would recommend anyone just type in Apollo 11 1969 press conference and watch the whole press conference of Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins and Neil Armstrong. Watch that. Wouldn't you be punching the air going, oh, we did it. We watch it and then just decide the body language is all stifled. They're shitting themselves. If you'd been at the moon and you came back, how big would your head be?
Your mouth off, yeah, of course.
You'd think you were it. You know what I mean? So, and they're like, watch it. Just watch it and make your own mind up.
Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong become a recluse afterwards.
Well, Armstrong, yeah, he went to lecturing in universities, engineering, lecturing, and wouldn't speak to anyone. Yeah.
I've got an interest in radio scanning, especially aircraft.
Right.
And I can assure you, at night time, there's a lot of talk at the moment about drones, especially in Afghanistan. But in this country, there's loads of drones at night,
right.
Operated usually by the US military, of various shapes and sizes, and aircraft tracks, paths have been shifted to make way for them. Also, have you got any opinion on rods?
They've been photographed. Well, not really. I don't have an opinion. I know that people have produced photographs of these rod-shaped UFOs, which, they come and go very quickly, don't they? I don't know. You're saying that the Look North UFO.
I think that's what the Look North one was, a rod.
That Look North one, could it be a firework? I don't know. I think you've got to explore all the possibilities, because you're then in danger of people that find one case that and then it's proven the other way. Then you're labelled, you know what I mean? So I would say it's inconclusive, that the Look North one. It's not good enough, It's certainly curious.
It's travelling that fast, you see.
But yeah. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah,
yes, sir. Sorry.
Richard, it's not a popular question.
Sure.
But you come across as a great researcher, pretty thorough. But I think you could be creating more damage than good, because the powers that be, they've gone to a lot of trouble to keep this quiet.
are you referring to the UFO stuff or the terrorism
well,
stuff?
Well, both.
You see, with regards to terrorism stuff, I was talking about this to my mother, and I was trying to explain to her why I'm doing it, because she gets worried, right? I said, Mum, if you saw a murder, what would you do?
But ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, but you know what I'm getting at.
It's true that
I've witnessed a murder in London of 52 people on that tube, and I know who did it. I know who did it.
Yeah.
The MI5 did it, Mossad did it. It wasn't done by Islamic terrorists. So I either do nothing and just sit with that knowledge, or I try and spread information.
Yeah, could be game
just
over
with the
as well.
microphone, the guy said, ignorance is bliss, but knowledge is power. I mean, you know, it's truth. That's all it is, truth. They're lying to us.
What could happen?
Are you talking to me or to everyone?
Everybody. What happens when you take the top off the jaw of worms? What happens then?
Well, I would examine the worms. If the world's got worms in it, then I want to know. I don't want to like pretend it's not there. I don't want to live in a. I'd rather know the truth, because, and this is what I say. Once all the information's there, if you knew all of the information that's hidden, you then are getting closer to the real truth about where we came from and who we are.
I'm not
who wouldn't want to know that?
I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is,
if somebody blamed you for something you haven't done, would you like people to try and look into it, or just believe what everybody says?
It's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did actually. Yeah. We went around Wickham and other places with the camera. We were saying to people, if
I mean, there's a reason why they're keeping it from us.
Yeah, John Duffield said that to me. That look, Richard, leave that alone. Leave it alone, because they're actually protecting the masses by doing this. Well, I don't buy that. I think we're ready. Even then, even in the 40s when they knew about it, they should have just bit the bullet and told everyone.
What happens if they do tell everybody? You don't know.
Well, you don't. But I think we'll get out of bed the next morning and go, bloody hell, we're not alone in the universe. I think religion will take a kick in the bollocks, but that's all. I think. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well, when the absolute truth comes out, religion is like trying to nail a piece of jelly to the wall. They'll just move the goalposts and say, well, that's what we meant. We meant that there was extraterrestrials, and we meant that they were our brothers, and actually our Bible's correct, really, in a way. They'll just move it around, which is fair enough. Fine, do that.
Do you think that religion's just been there to put us off the scent? It's because I'm
yeah. How long have you got? You know what I mean?
No, I'm a strong
believer. Who wants to talk about religion?
No, but do you think that that's what's been there to take away off the ball? Because we went to school and we were told, like, you're going to go to hell because you didn't go to church on Sunday.
Yeah, but you've got to go back at least 2,000 years to answer who put the religion there and why, and even before then. The Egyptian religions, who put them there? The Sumerian religion, who was putting it there and why? And I agree, it was to control man.
You've got like the Christians, but then you've got the Protestants, the Catholics, and if you take that back and you keep peeling it back, then you'll get to the truth. But everything puts their little side to it and their little religion. You know, you see all the different religions you get.
Yeah, and the fact that there's so many is...
And there's that many...
They divide and conquer. There's
that many skins on the onion, you'll never get to the truth.
I mean, this whole thing about the mosque at 9/11, they've done that deliberately, because they want to stoke it up.
Stoke it up against the Muslims. Muslims to believe everything.
With the brats in the east.
There was a
or the commies. Before the Berlin Wall came down, it was the commies that you had to hate. We're all people. We're all people.
The Jews, everybody gets... Yeah.
Richard Dawkins, you know all about religion.
Yes.
Well, I think it's all about
You've gone on the Rich Planet Forum, and he's been a focal point of a lot of banter on that. In part 3, we discuss the false flag terrorist attack on London, known as 7/7, which took place in 2005.